Go ahead and get started, everyone. Hopefully we won't have anyone that's joining too late. If so, they can catch us in the afternoon. Good morning. It's so wonderful to see you all. Happy Friday. Happy morning. And you all are already halfway through your morning. It's so good to see you and thank you for your time today. My name is Stephanie Cartwright, and I am an early childhood mental health consultant, and I work with DFSS. I am an employee with SGA Youth and Family Services. So we are so happy to be in this space together today. And I just would like to introduce Anthony is our facilitator today, and he'll give you some instructions maybe towards the end. And Maria is our translator today, if we would need her services. And we'll just give her a moment just to explain and
join the call, but you are the only one here.
Sorry about that. Hi, my name is Maria and I will be the Spanish translator. Para aquellos que necesitan traducción en español, puse el teléfono en el chat. Pueden marcar ese teléfono, luego marcan el PIN y yo les voy a traducir lo que Stephanie va a hablar hoy. Y si tienen preguntas, pueden mandarme un mensaje en el chat. Gracias. All right, Stephanie, thank you.
Thank you so much. And that will be in a separate area, so you won't hear what is going on, obviously.
Yeah, sorry, I forgot to explain that. It should not interrupt this discussion at all. I'll be on the phone on a total separate call, so yeah.
All right, thank you so much.
Thank you. Sorry.
No worries. We've been doing this for a few times now, so
yes, you know the drill.
got the hang of your routine. So everyone, we sent out some slides or handouts a day or two ago, just some vignettes that we're gonna do. And the reason I gave them to you ahead of time is because usually the time, we don't take up the whole hour and a half. I like to take a little bit of time for discussion, but vignettes can take, just a moment to review. So we did send them. It's okay if you haven't been able to access them, but just know that they should be in your email. If you choose to reference them, they will be up here on the PowerPoint, but I didn't know if that would be distracting or overwhelming for someone. So I wanted you to have it in hand based on your learning style and how you like to participate. And since it's segmented, because we're not all together, just being kind of creative in how I will share the information with you. So it should be in your email as well. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and get started. Again, I'm so happy to see you all this morning, and I'm going to go ahead and start sharing my screen. And Anthony, if you wouldn't do me mind doing me a favor, I was going to set an alarm to remind myself, just because I don't want to go past time and allow a little bit of time for discussion and just to hear from some people. But I'm going to have to just turn my phone off, so I'm not going to hear my alarm. So at about 11:15, if you would just kind of give me a, hey, it's 11:15, or if somebody in the group would like to do it, no worries. That would be awesome too. I would greatly appreciate it.
Yes, no problem.
Okay, all right, good. Make sure you all have enough time to reflect if you'd like to. Okay. Alrighty, so give me a thumbs up. I hope everyone is seeing a screen now. And so I will not assume, I often don't like to read slides, but I know that you all are, some of you are in an area where there are multiple things going on. So whereas I typically would not read a lot or be so much in detail what's on the slide, I want you just to be able to absorb. So there, I probably will use more words than I typically do, in case it happens to be away from their screen. Alrighty, so today we're discussing active supervision, and we of course know what active supervision is. So this is just a moment where we want to reflect, and we thought this was a great topic for us to just to talk about and refresh ourselves as we're um, coming full circle with this program year. So just some time for us to kind of think about when we're going away for the summer break, to just kind of think about some things that we may want to do differently um, in the next term, okay? So today we're going to talk about what is active supervision, just some things that we may want to refresh, look at with a different lens. We're going to do look at a vignette, as I already mentioned, that's in your email. We have a self-reflection tool, just some questions that we're going to think about and kind of look in the mirror here, myself included. And what are some ways we can actually do these things? So what are we already doing? Daily schedules, rituals, and routines, and just the common things that we know. What goes on during eating, napping, and toileting. And I know you all are experts, so I'll be happy to hear from you at the end on what is working well. So it is our priority and our goal, hopefully, all of us to actively supervise, right? Because we have been charged with the care of these young people. And so we want to make sure that we all understand that it is top priority for us to keep our children safe. It's a part of the performance standards, ensuring no child is left alone or unsupervised by staff, consultants, contractors, or volunteers while under their care. So knowing what your role is and who is in the same space as you, and just being able to communicate with other adults as to what is going on and who's watching out for what. And so, what is your definition of active supervision? So I know we have what the standard is. So, if any wants to throw out in the chat box, what their definition is at the very end, or maybe about halfway through. Anthony can just kind of help us see what some of those are if you all choose to put in the chat box how you define active supervision. And so it's just a great strategy is what we need to do in order for the environment to be safe, right? It's an active skill that we must have in the work that we do. So it's not being passive, but it's being active. And it's making sure that the children are able to explore safely. So, children are curious, and the age group that we work with, they're learning things through all their five senses. And if they're safe and secure in their environment, then they're going to want to explore, right? So we have to have a very broad lens for how we are keeping them safe. So we want to make sure that we know how to look, listen, and engage in order to keep the little ones safe. And so what this requires of us as caregivers at these sites is for us to be focused in our attention. And so I like to think of that as being intentional, right? How are we observing? What skills do I have in my toolbox? What am I aware of? What do I already know about little Susie over here, to where I know how she may respond to a certain situation? It's all about positioning, so you can watch, count, and listen all the time. It's ongoing, and it sounds exhausting, right? But you all are some rock stars and superstars for doing what you do. You're sharing information every day, but then you also are just very watchful as you are creating lessons and teaching our young people. So that is just wonderful. You can just be using all of these skills that you have while also keeping our children safe.
We do have a comment in the chat. that says to be alert and positive and in motion throughout a daily routine.
Oh, I like that. I like it. I like it. Thank you. I like it. Thanks, Anthony. So during transitions, transitions can be complicated, and I'm not quite sure, at different sites, you all may have different, of course, ways that we're transitioning now during, being safe during the pandemic. But just watching out, accounting for all the children, so name to face. And so what if, you have 5 students with the same color shirt on that day, or 3 of your little girls have cornrows with beads. So you may think you're seeing somebody, but making sure that you're putting a name, especially if they have on similar outfits, similar hairstyles, if you all wear uniforms at your site, just being very aware. And the next point is the child's developmental level, right? And their abilities. So, what can you anticipate that this child will do based on their where they are developmentally? So, if there's a situation that may be overstimulating, a situation that may be kind of boring because a child has already acquired that skill. So, if a child is not engaged, then they may be wanting to do something else while you're working with another child. So just kind of being aware of your children's needs, so that way you can anticipate what they may be doing next. So being vigilant helps them be able to learn safely because they feel comfortable, right? They know their routines and they know this person has got my back. Okay, so as I said the other day, some of us are gonna maybe kind of roll our eyes to ourselves and say, "Oh my, this is common sense." But there's also another saying that all sense isn't so common to us, right? We all have different personalities and how we perceive information, and how we apply the information that we've acquired. So they need to be supervised all the time. And this includes sleeping, eating, diapering, bathroom, and we'll go into just maybe a little bit more detail about those things because maybe next year, so you got all your bases covered now, but maybe you're transitioning to a different room next year that may require some different skills.
We do have a comment in the chat. Looks like reiterating what you said, active supervision is focused attention and intentional observation with children in the center.
That's right. Being intentional. Being intentional. It is helpful to overplan and be aware because it's better to do things on the front side. It's going to take some effort, but it feels a lot better than an incident occurring and then the things that have to occur after an incident to kind of rectify and explain and put things in place, right? So let's be more intentional on the front end. Um, and so take advantage of all learning opportunities. Okay. So if it's an opportunity to teach a child a skill, so maybe not in the moment right after something has happened because everybody's, your hormones are going to be and your cortisol level may be heightened, but just a good time after something has occurred or maybe would have happened. Say, hey, take this as an opportunity to kind of problem solve and help the child understand some good choices. And let's do that for ourselves too, right? Where we may be aware of, oh, so and so could have happened here. How can I prevent that in the future? So setting up the environment. All right. So the beginning of the year, we're very attentive and ooh, I'm going to buy this and ooh, I'm going to do that and put this over here. It's all exciting, right? So just constantly being aware of the movement of furniture and your accessibility to children. So just being aware of your space, how high is the counter space, just being able to make sure of what you are able to see and hear and smell. So I just like to say all 5 of our senses because what are you aware of as the adult in this space? And maybe if you have a co-teacher, we all have different skill sets. So just learning to depend on each other and having a little language with your co-teacher if you have one. just making sure spaces that are small are clutter-free, and big spaces are set up so that children have clear space that you can observe. So can you see everybody from where you are? And again, positioning staff so that way you can see the entire environment. So where are you in the classroom? Where's your co-teacher? If you're transitioning, if you're on the playground, putting yourself in a place to, again, where you can see and hear each child, making sure there are clear pathways, and you're doing this, what are you hearing when the children are napping or supposed to be napping? Do they have some sort of item with them at their cot? Just being aware of what their playing sounds like, what their eating time sounds like, and the time when they are resting, right? And just making sure that you can react quickly. So I've been in classrooms before observing, and, there's somebody who may need special attention and may need to be near an adult so they can just rest, right? So they're not even sleeping. And that's okay if they're not sleeping. They may just be resting. But if they need to be near an adult, but making sure their cot is not where you're going to trip if you need to get somewhere else. So just making sure you're safe and getting to where you need to get to. Scan and count, scan and count. So if any of you come from a big family, and, when, depending on how, you all socialize, you can be in a place, or I guess before the pandemic, you can be in a place with 50 children, but where your own grandchildren are, or your own children are, right? So, when we're at our centers, knowing where your children are, being able to scan and count, and having a system of doing this, when we are transitioning, and when we are in larger spaces where the children may be spread out. And doing this frequently. And this is really crucial, like I said, during transitions. Listening. What is it that we are hearing, or what are we not hearing? Sometimes not hearing something means that something may be going on, right? So if you're doing an activity, or you all doing something where you should hear laughter and squealing and different sorts of things, or if you can recognize somebody's voice, during 5 or 6 minutes of an activity, and then there's nothing from this certain person, it may give pause, hey, let me see what's going on with little Sarah over here. Listening closely to children immediately identify signs of potential danger. So what their little voices sound like, and their personalities. Being able to think systematically, what strategies can you use in your classroom that are appropriate and acceptable at your site for alerting you of different things.
We do have a comment in the chat that says, when I think of active supervision, I think of modeling, because showing children how to do routine and procedure and telling them what to notice and what to expect. Finally, learning everything actively, smooth interactions and transitions.
That's right. That's right. Noticing teachable moments, and then reinforcing skills, giving them opportunities to practice. That's very good. Thank you so much for sharing that. You all are rocking and rolling. And like I said, you're the experts. You have all the answers. This is what you do every day. This is just a space for sharing and gentle reminders. Thank you so much. Anticipating children's behavior. Again, using what you know about each child's individual interests and skills to predict what he or she will do. You know them like the back of your hand. So when somebody's going to be bored, most likely, or more curious, and what curiosity looks like for Annie, and what boredom looks like for Jose, right? You know these things. And so what are they likely to do in these situations? So just keeping them engaged and knowing or anticipating what could happen or how they are going to react, and making sure you have a space and an activity and things set up to better support you while you're working with all of your little ones. Okay, and behavior can create challenges, or changes in routine can create challenges. So just making sure that the children are prompted and aware, so that they know that you're there to support them in succeeding, which is number 2. So if you're presenting a new activity, and it may be overwhelming, or may cause a child or two, when they get frustrated or overwhelmed, they may become dysregulated. So anticipating these things. So what do your children do when they get upset, or when they're frustrated, right? Because anticipating and thinking about this when you're planning your lessons helps you be able to think about what some risk may be in the room. So where does Katie need to be when this activity is going on, and how am I going to support her, or how is co-teacher going to be near her when we start this exercise, or even when we're transitioning. Transitions are different for some little ones, so how can we support them? And number 4, I really like this one because this is very basic. When I tell you, educators, we wear so many hats. And I forgot to say, I've been a teacher and an administrator. And just thinking about the many things that you are so awesome at, and the skills that maybe, we didn't get in a book when we were in school, but now that you have been in practice, because this kind of, to me, sounds like a little triage or intake. So if mom emails you, messages you, however you communicate with the families or the caregivers. So your daily health check, what was going on with little Johnny last night or this morning? Illnesses, allergies, lack of sleep, food insecurity, or either the child is refusing to eat breakfast either at the site or at home. What is it that you need to know that can help inform what you may or may not see for today, right? So if someone is asthmatic, but today they're feeling a little better, but the pollen count is high. So when they're napping, what are some things that you may or may not hear, right? And this is some information you already know about the child when they first registered, but specifically this morning, what did the child experience? So any information that you can garner from the caregiver during drop off or messaging or however you communicate would just be very helpful. And I like the lack of sleep one too, right? So if for 2 or 3 nights, little Jamal has not been sleeping well, maybe because grandmother moved out, or, who knows why he's not sleeping. So that's a concern, number 1, but more specifically in your zone, in your area right now. So if he's not sleeping, but what if when he gets to school, even before his nap time, he's kind of dozing off. So if he hasn't been sleeping, we don't want him to fall out of the chair because he's getting sleepy at school rather than sleeping at home. So what are some ways that we can kind of augment and support him during the day when we know that he hasn't had much sleep? So, is he going to be more grumpy and wanting to throw things? Is he going to fall asleep in the chair? We don't want him to hit his head. So just thinking about little things like that seem small, but can help him be safe and can cut down on some of the feelings that kind of get heightened in us when something occurs, right? Engaging and redirecting, using what waiting until children are unable to problem solve on their own to get involved. So one thing we like to do, and I don't know how often you all have been told this, but I have been told this. My partner tells me all the time. He says, you are such a teacher all the time. Can you turn that off? So, we're used to being alert and watchful and caring, right? And so sometimes it's easier for us as adults and educators When there is a situation, it's easier just to jump in and say, oh, here, let me do this for you, or let me help you with this. But as children are gaining new skills and exploring when they're at school, give them an opportunity. Let's give them some skills and maybe some prompts for problem solving. And then let's see what they are able to do, because these things are going to help them as they graduate from you and move on up. So by the time they get to middle school, 12, 13 years old, we want them to have some skills to be able to problem solve. So that way they're able to be safe, and keep others safe and be able to be more regulated, right? So give them the opportunity, and just being mindful so that they know you're there for them, but get involved in when it's absolutely necessary for you to redirect, okay?
We do have a few comments in the chat. One is to keeping the children actively engaged for less distractions, also learning what the children love in the classroom, and then that this is why individualizations are important, so you can learn about each child developmental levels, so you could focus their lesson plan on each child. So that was what one participant shared. We also have a couple of others. Being proactive when learning behaviors will help us set up things for them to do by keeping more busy children closer, and children with the least amount of required supervision more busy, like a helper may manage the classroom flow. And then the last one is understanding what our kids are wrestling with and the developmental goals they are working towards will make their more frustrating behaviors easier to deal with. Things will run smoother if we can give them the space and support they need to do whatever it is they need to.
I love it. You all are awesome. This is just beautiful, beautiful. You are all head on it with all of those. That is right. So focus, proactive, goals, individuation, all wonderful things, all much needed. And for those of us who are listening, I know your wheels are turning. And even if you don't chime in, that's totally fine. I know that you're thinking. And so just think about those things that were just mentioned. What are you a rock star at and can possibly be able to support someone else in, right? And so it may be veteran staff at your school, someone who may be struggling because, I feel like children have just changed so much over the past 15 years, right? Or maybe it's new staff, or maybe somebody that's mid-career, whatever the span of our career is. People need support, and they need to be heard. So just making sure you're checking in with each other, or maybe your coordinators, directors can kind of hook you up and link you up with someone. If you say to them, hey, I have some great ideas about X, I'd like to share, right? Because you all are the experts and are able to support each other. And we already mentioned it here, individualization. So that is awesome. Okay, so now we're going to just look at our scenario. And so like I said, I am going to pull it up here, but I just wanted you to be able to have it accessible in another way. So since we're not in person, and let me just say, I'm so used to standing up and training and teaching, feels very strange to sit and offer a training like we've been having to do, or I've been having to do this year. But I'm glad you all are here, and it feels a little awkward for me to be sitting, but I hope that everything is getting across to you okay, and I appreciate your participation. So what does active supervision look like again? So we're gonna understand what it might look like in your program, and we're just gonna consider this example, and I want you to just be thinking about your own site and just putting in your mind right now, just pick some children's name that you can fill in so you can connect to it, right? So we're going to identify the specific strategies that are in bolded text. And so as we're reading the vignettes, we're going to refer to these strategies. We're going to look at how everything is set up, positioning of staff, counting and scanning, using our 5 senses, special listening, anticipation, and engaging and redirecting. Okay, so I definitely do not want to read this to you, but if there's anybody who is away from the screen and you need me to, then I certainly will. So we have 2 students here, and I'm just going to let you absorb this. Hopefully, if there's somebody away from the screen, you can hear my voice and you can run back over and give a thumbs up if you need me to read it out loud. Otherwise, I'm going to give you a moment to either process your email vignette or either looking at the screen, okay? And so what you're going to do is the bolded sections where there's a 1, 2, 3, and a 4, you're going to think about what strategy it is that we're using, okay? So for number 1, for example, Maria and Yasmin are the teachers and they're at opposite ends of the playground. You know, which one of these strategies is that? So this is why I had it delivered to you early, because I really can't toggle and allow everybody to view. Okay, about 30 more seconds, and then we're just going to go through the 1, 2, 3, and 4. Okay, so number 1, Maria and Yasmin standing at opposite corners. This is about positioning of staff, right? Where they are on the playground. The second one, Maria and Yasmin have agreed on a supervision plan for which they will observe, right? So what are we going to do when we go out there? Talking about this before, or maybe in the hallway, or however communication would naturally occur. So this is them setting up the environment, right? Okay, and it says that they're always counting, making sure of who's close to them, and they have a little system of letting each other know who is close to them or which ones. So this is scanning and counting. So whatever this would look like for you and your communication style, the vibe that you have with your co-staff or your other staff at your school on how to scan and count in an environment, okay? And the fourth one, if a child moves location, just being aware that they've changed, or, you know, whatever type of signal that you would give. We're good at using, we're very demonstrative, right? So, and this is just another example of scanning and counting. Did anyone place any comments in there about that, Anthony? Nope, we're all good.
I don't. Yeah, we're all good there. Oh, we just got one to move constantly. Oh, we got another one to move constantly and deliberately around the classroom and set up the environment and scan, count, and listen, position staff.
Right. Good. Yeah, that sounds good. And I mean, these are things we do naturally. And like I said, at various points of our career, things can just feel very overwhelming, or we may be tired one day or not feeling our best, or just have something going on in our personal life. So just making sure, I mentioned the other day in a training that just understanding that you have coworkers, just reaching out and letting people know, hey, I need just a moment. Can you watch these 3 children over here while I do XYZ? So just being present and knowing what your needs are in the moment if you're not able to fully attend, right? We are human beings. So even before the pandemic. So now, once as we're moving along, and things will eventually feel more settled to us, but just always being aware of your needs and your thoughts and your emotions, because if you are not present, then it's pretty hard to do some of these things. So just being aware of your needs. Thank you so much for sharing. So here we are, continued. So now we have 5 through 9. Okay, about 20 more seconds. And some of our options are going to be setting up the environment, listening, anticipating, engaging and reflecting, scan and count, setting up the environment. Alrighty, so this is a more specific look at some children who are playing. So number 5, she hears children scolding each other. So that would be listening. Number 6, Maria stands behind a certain child, right? And making a suggestion, for what may come next. So that is anticipating what the child may do. Just, remaining close, right? And just thinking about what Ahmed, who may possibly experience some overwhelm or not knowing what to do in this situation. Number 7, Kellen, who has been experimenting with some climbing. So I like this one. So while Kellen is able to do that, just being aware of the other children's skills, but hey, that looks fun. Let me go try this too. So being able to engage and reflect so that you could support the students that may need extra support in that scenario. So, right, we want them to begin to learn to explore, maybe try something new, but offer some scaffolding, literally, with the climbing. And, for them to be able to build new skills. So anticipation, she offers a hand or suggests a lower step to those who are not developmentally ready to do so. And so that's engaging and reflecting. So thinking about what has just occurred and who needed what. So let me just clarify. Number 7 was engage and reflect. Number 8 was anticipating, and then again, engaging and reflecting for number 9. Okay, and finally, this last segment. So we're getting ready for a transition here. Okay, so these are just going to be some of the same answers we've already used, but just applying them to a new segment of what our activity is, right? So number 10 is setting up the environment. She's setting everything up. So they're going to use colors. She asked a child who has trouble coming inside to help her. So this is engaging and directing. And I would also probably say anticipation too, because she knows Beto. So she's already anticipated and planned for this. And so she's just reaching out to him and letting him know what she would like for him to do. Number 12 is also engage and direct. Then we're going to number 13, scan and count. Number 14, Yasmin leads the line and Maria takes the back end. So that way they have everybody between them and she's holding little Beto's hand. Number 15, when they get back to the classroom, they have everything already ready for when they've returned and the children know what to do because these rituals and routines are in place, right? And then number 16, the environment is set up previously. And then finally, taking the final count, and then they're going to collect the little color cards and move on to their next activity. So they are rocking and rolling. Does anybody have anything there that they added, Anthony?
Not seeing a new, let's see. Yeah, it looks like we still have the move constantly and deliberately around the classroom and to set up the environment and scan count. But I believe those are the ones I previously shared.
Okay, all righty, sounds good. So they are using their systems and strategies to make sure that they know where everyone is. So it's a fun, meaningful, and above all, safe experience, right? So the children have enjoyed themselves and the teachers' stress levels are at a minimal because they have everything in place and they have anticipated and used all their 5 senses. So we're just going to take a look here and think about what it is that we are doing a great job at. What are some things we may need to focus on a little more? Maybe one thing in particular. So just what it is, it says it's a reflection tool. So you can reflect on yourself, maybe as a classroom. So you and your co-teacher, if you are not on here together, what is something, an area of support you may need from coordinators and supervisors. So I'm going to stop talking so you can actually just kind of read through these. Okay, and I will say here that I'm going to provide these slides to you all. They'll be handed out by Vera Creative at the end of the day. So, you know, you will have this handy. Just to continue to use this as a reflection tool and maybe as a conversation starter with your any co-teachers within your pod or teaching group or with administrators at your site. And here's a little sample sheet that you can use for planning or just for troubleshooting, problem solving, a thinking guide. So it's just a graphic organizer that may be helpful to you or maybe someone you know, okay? So the little things matter, and we've already mentioned that. So just doing things and having foresight and being intentional. So daily transitions, we like things to be well ordered and predictable. So this is arrivals, departures, meal times, nap times, toileting. I also like to think about any visitors that may be coming in your room. So, even if the coordinator, director, whoever might be stopping by, if there's any type of pull-out services being provided, just being mindful of what knocks at the door due to certain children, if another adult is present. So just being aware of any changes. Sometimes the slightest thing can be triggering in your environment to a child. Provide opportunities for children to learn about themselves, the world, and other people. So, think about the mind and the skills and the curiosity of a young child. So for them to begin to learn that, hey, little Jay may not be doing the same thing as me, and that's okay. This is how Jay does this. And maybe I may need to approach it another way. And daily routines offer stability and security. So that way they are feeling warm and cared for, and they can continue to thrive. So you being consistent and you being a secure person for them, because we have them for all day long, basically, right? And we can control the school environment. We can't control the home environment, but we can control the school environment. So just making it an optimal space for suiting their needs as a whole group and then as individuals. Rituals and routines in their daily schedule. We know these things, again, being consistent and making sure that all areas of development are included when we're planning our activities. So just being aware, again, that individuation in our planning and thinking about skills and goals for our children. And how these shift, throughout the year, right? And then if, in the past year that we have had, or over a year now, so just the transitions in maybe in homes due to illness, food insecurity, housing. So things that are going on outside of the school and how it's impacted our school day. Okay, so when our transitions, so an activity can go beautifully, right? And we're so excited about planning them, and we get super excited when the children are engaged. And transitions are just as important because you're teaching skills during transition as well. So these are things like being patient, being cooperative. So if you are organized and feeling confident in your transitions, then this will uh, transfer to the children. So this is the time that we also need to be very intentional so that it feels safe and secure, and it gets them ready for and prime for the next activity. And if you look down at the bullet point next to the last, a transition is an opportunity, right? For children to complete their thoughts, complete their activity, to feel satisfied, and then ready to move on. So we want them to be cooperative. So if you are very intentional about transitions, very intentional about prompting, so what kind of prompts do the various children in your room need? I want everybody to just take about 15 seconds here to think about one child who needs a different type of prompt than the other children. Who in your room needs a different type of prompt in order to move forward than other children may need? So just think about that for just a moment. Okay. And so how often are we able to do that? What do we do in its stead, and what does that look like for us? And finally, avoiding situations where all the children are expected to do the same thing all the time. That's a very big demand. So being flexible and doing what's best for the child. And we talked about security earlier. So this goes not really into attachment theory, but that was a whole nother discussion. But I do want you to understand and just be reminded and think a little bit about what you've learned about attachment. These are very important in the early years, and this is when you have children or either maybe right after. So making sure that we are helping children develop, a secure bond, right? So it may not be what it needs to be when they're outside of school, but so we may be the secure person for the child. So whether we are their person or not, we want to either build upon what they're already doing. So what we're going to do is just practice listening and paying attention to whether it's a baby, a toddler, is telling you and being sensitive to his cues, paying attention to your own verbal cues and body language. So again, being aware of your body. Are you tense? Are you upset? Are you stressed? Are you sad? And what are your verbal cues? So of course we're human beings, but just being aware in the moment. So if you need support in that moment, if you need somebody else to do something, if you need to call down for someone else to step into your room for just a moment. So what are you communicating? Talking to the little ones, even though they may not understand, but your voice and your touch, these are all things that are needed for communication and attachment. Not rushing children through things as they're learning, because then they may associate a negative vibe with whatever the activity is. Establish routines based on their needs. So if you are in an infant room or whether you're with 3-year-olds, just again, individualization. And you may think, well, why does a baby need? Well, because he still has his own way of doing things, even though he can't communicate that yet.
We do have a comment in the chat that says a visual timer prompt is implemented to support a specific student.
Oh, right. Yes, 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 yes. So, you think about, I know some 12-year-olds who have difficulty telling time, but even a 3-year-old, they can recognize what that counter looks like on the big screen, or use the sand timer. Visual cues are excellent. Thank you so much. And so I'm not going to go through this entire slide. Again, like I said, you will get this information, but it's just being mindful that. So mealtime is a time where we kind of expect, everybody should be eating. This is what we do at mealtime, but just being aware of culture and how different people eat, whether they eat certain foods with utensils or with their hand, or I know they don't provide like a lot of condiments and stuff at school, but just being aware of how children like their food. And of course, on down to the bottom, it says considerations that make mealtime positive experiences for children and teenagers. Are you guys see who needs to be muted? Okay. Alrighty, so what we're going to do here is just remind ourselves that children eat at their own pace, and some children eat more than others. So being mindful of not scolding. So some of us, the way that we were raised, you better clean your plate, you better eat everything, every bit of that food, that type thing. So those are our values and our beliefs. But being aware of what a family's beliefs are, and what that child needs, right? So they have tiny little stomachs. But some of them may be used to just having a lot of things at school because of food insecurity, maybe at home. Not using food as a behavior, right? So we don't want to use it as a reward or a punishment. We do not want to use food as a reward or punishment. And just being mindful that meal times are a great opportunity for independence, making choices about food, what utensil they're going to use, how they're learning how to hold utensils. And being careful again not to force them to eat. Forcing a child to eat, may cause a choking hazard, may cause some anxiety related things. So again, which all kind of ties back to safety and making sure that you're aware of the environment. Same thing with nap time. It's our job just to make sure that they are relaxed. Every child may not go to sleep, and it may be because he's, anxious, he doesn't feel safe, maybe he has a stomach ache, but do not force a child to sleep as long as he is not disturbing others or doing something that is inappropriate or unhealthy or unsafe. It's okay to just rest, because think about yourself as an adult, how sometimes it's hard for us to turn our minds off at bedtime. So, this child has had a wonderful day. Halfway through his day, it may just be hard for him to wind all the way down. But just kind of talk to the family about some ways to better support, but do not force a child to go to sleep. But if he has the skills, he will be restful and not disturbing others, right? Same thing with toileting, not rushing children with toileting, because what happens is when you rush and just create this vibe around an activity that's already a little bit stressful for a child. So whereas other children may be waiting nicely to go into the room, whatever your procedure is in your room for toileting, but if there's a child that finds it a challenge and then you are adding your own energy to it, you're creating more of a situation in that moment, right? And so that way you're not able to be paying attention to other things, because this child requires so much attention during toileting because of the energy that has been created around it. So the same thing with meals and napping and toileting. We want to be supportive. We don't want to rush them. Being aware of family ideas and beliefs, because when we are in a good space and good energy and supportive around these things, then children are less likely to become dysregulated during these times, right? So if they are in a good space around these activities, and that allows you to be observing and aware of everything rather than so much focused attention during this thing that is just natural to the body to do. So then you may become dysregulated, knowing that, oh gee, it's bathroom time again, or oh gosh, it's lunchtime, so we're going to have to do this thing again. So then it becomes a cycle. So just trying to create good energy around these very natural things that we need to do every day. So when there are accidents, let's jump down towards the bottom, next to the last bullet. Being calm, matter of fact, and being reassuring to the child. Be a calm, matter of fact, and reassuring. So that's creating an atmosphere of trust and of growth, because there is a reason, why an accident has happened. So what was different? So just collecting some information around that, and not being punitive in these spaces. And if you need support in that, that is what your counselors, mental health consultants, maybe your coworkers can help support you in some strategies if this becomes a habit or troublesome, right? Oh, and another thing, let's jump back up to the top. So the type of clothing that a child has on. So when we request that children wear certain types of shoes and shirts and jackets, and like this says elastic waistbands. So based on a child's motor skills and the needs that they have if they're trying to go to the bathroom or different things, what is it that we can create so that children can be successful and comfortable when they're doing these basic skills things? Because if you're constantly every day trying to help someone with these very complicated shoes that they wear, or if they have on pants with 6 buttons up the fly, and then this belt that does something special. So just thinking of basic things that can make these things less stressful for the child and for you, so that way your attention can be fully spread throughout the room. Okay, so these are our some resources that you can use, and none of these things that I've discussed today I have just pulled out of my head or out of thin air. These are best practices, so you can further explore those there. And now we are just going to kind of give a little bit of time for questions. And I thank you so much for your time and for your attention. And so for your beautiful comments on strategies that you all are doing, and just little reminders that you have shared with the group, that has just been absolutely beautiful. So I'm going to stop sharing my screen now, unless somebody is requesting that I go back to a specific slide. Otherwise, I'm going to stop sharing, and we are going to just have a little discussion if you so desire. And if not, then you can get back to what it is you need to do. But we're going to let Anthony share some final thoughts, okay?
Yes, thank you for that. And if you haven't done so already, I would just ask that you just write your name and agency name and email in the chat, so that we could send you this follow-up email with these resources right after this training concludes. Also, I put a link in the chat to the evaluation relating to this session. And so if you could take a moment, click on that link and fill it out. That link is also going to be included in the follow-up email that you will be receiving shortly after this session concludes. And so, yeah, that's all I have. So just keep a lookout for that email with the resources and that evaluation link. And we just ask that you please complete that evaluation within the next 24 hours.
Okay, I see that, I don't know how many of us there are here, less than 20 probably, but I do appreciate you all's participation. And like I said, I typically don't like to read screens, but there's some very rich information. Some of it may have felt a little bit redundant, but just consider here that we have people on the training from a span of places in our career. So feel free to put any questions in if you have any, make any comments. I'm sure that they will be very beneficial to the group. Does anyone have any comments? Yes, a good refresher. I like that. So there are just times, and this is, as we're winding down, hopefully some things for you to reflect on when you start your pre-planning for next program year. You're welcome. You're welcome. I appreciate you all.
Is there an evaluation for this course that we have to fill out, or no?
No.
Okay.
I do have our evaluation linked in the chat, which should just take a couple of moments to fill out. And there is a follow-up email with an evaluation link That'll be sent shortly after we conclude the session.
I'm sorry, Anthony, I should have just let you speak.
No, it's okay. It's okay. And I'll repost that in the chat so it gets to the very bottom of the screen. Perfect. So for anyone who has a moment, you can follow that link to the evaluation.
Okay, I see a question here. Yes, it will be again this afternoon at 2. And as far as offering it again soon, that would be something that you could put in the information that you provide if there's space to do so. Go ahead, Anthony.
Oh, I'm so sorry. I was just going to mention we have a training calendar that we could send out that'll have future training dates in there that you could register to.
So Anthony, you'll be emailing the calendar just to like the listserv for this group?
That is correct.
Okay.
That is correct. So for all the emails that I have here, I will send the evaluation link and those resources in the same email.
And let me just say here too, because that was a question the other day about gateways credit. So we are in the process of looking into that. So I am not going, I don't know what as far as I'll call it grandfathering, as far as them going back to be able to say that credit is going to be given for something. But this currently is not listed I don't think it said that under the listing when you are registered as going to be a training that would provide gateway credits. So I don't want there to be any misconception with that. Just wanted to be clear. And I don't know that, so it's say for instance, it occurs in July. I'm not sure if that's something they would go back retroactively and do. I just want to be transparent about that. So if there's not anything else, I don't want you to feel beholden to just sitting here. I just like to hang around in case somebody thinks of something like right at the last moment. But that is all for the training. And I'll just be here in case you have a question. Please don't feel rushed with any of the information he's sending, but you all be well and have an awesome day and enjoy the weather this weekend. Thank you so much for your time.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Thank you, everybody. Have a great day.
Thanks, Maria. I don't see our Maria anymore, but maybe she didn't have to translate.
Yeah, she messaged me directly. There were no Spanish speaking participants, so she hopped off earlier.
Okay, no worries. I guess we'll see her later on then.
Yes, for sure, for sure. All right, is there anything additional that I can help you with before we hop off?
No, I am good. I think it worked well in this format.
Nice. Yes, that was good.
Figured we were going to have more teachers today, so I wanted to make sure it needs to be interactive. So I appreciate your fielding questions, because when I'm on full screen, I can't even see what
You
time.
can't see them.
can't
Yeah.
I appreciate that.
It's no problem. I'm happy to help. And so we'll be doing the session later on today. All right. So we have a good routine going on. So there you go. I'll see you a little later then.
Okay, thank you so much.
Okay.
Thank you.
Yes, you're welcome. Bye-bye.